Hi, everyone. I'm Camille, Uplifters Head of Program. Thank you for joining me tonight. Uplifters is a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering underprivileged communities with online education and peer support. We offer a free online money management course for domestic workers, and you just need to click send message on our Facebook page to enroll. Our objective with this antivirus video live is first to reply to your questions, if we can, or collect them and get back to you later if we cannot answer them directly. Secondly, we just want to be there with you. Uplifters is first and foremost a community, as most of you know, and we'll go through these difficult times together with you. So tonight is the 7th episode of our Antivirus series, and we're very happy to be here and to have Doctors Without Borders as our special guests. So Doctors Without Borders is an international medical humanitarian organization which operates in more than 70 countries worldwide. They provide medical care to people affected by armed conflict, epidemic, pandemics, which is the current situation, natural disasters, and exclusion from healthcare. So today we're very pleased to have Eliza and Guleed from this organization, again, Doctors Without Borders, so we can learn more and ask our questions on how to protect our health and our mental health in these COVID-19 difficult times. One thing I want to say before we start inviting them and start the discussion together is that if you have a fever, cough, difficulty in breathing, you might want to stay home and seek medical attention. And you might want to follow the directions of your local health authority. I will put the information here for Singapore. And this is the one for Hong Kong. I will put that again maybe at the end of the broadcast. I also want to say that there are still a lot of uncertainties around COVID-19, so we'll do our best to help you differentiate facts from assumptions and opinion. Another information that I do want to give you is that this will be an information sharing session about anxiety and stress management under COVID-19. It will not be a therapy session. So if you feel you need professional mental health support, then you might want to conduct that with, you might want to contact a qualified counselor, a psychologist, or a therapist. I do want to share with you for both domestic workers who are based in Hong Kong and in Singapore, some mental health hotlines that have been put into place. So for Hong Kong, you can call the Social Welfare Department or Caritas Family Crisis hotline. And for Singapore, you can also call these two numbers if you feel that you need professional help. So I'm going to welcome our first guest, Eliza. So Eliza Chang is a nurse specialized in infection prevention and control. Part of her role is to prevent or control the spread of infections in the community. Welcome, Eliza.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
And then our second guest is Guleed. Here.
Hello.
And Guleed is a psychologist, and he also works as a mental health activity manager at Doctors Without Borders. So we have Eliza, who is a specialized nurse, and Guleed, who is a psychologist. So thanks a lot for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
So before we get right into the topic, I just wanted to give a little bit of an update about what the situation looks like. So in Hong Kong, the situation seems to stabilize with more than 2 weeks without any local infection. But health authorities said that the epidemic could only be considered under control if there is no new cases reported for at least 1 or 2 incubation periods knowing that one incubation period is 14 days. And we've seen today that social distancing measures are being eased up. So that is the last update that we have. Unfortunately, in Singapore, the situation is still quite challenging. The city has seen a spike in cases, especially among migrant domestic workers, with the case count now exceeding 18,000. And the city is still under lockdown, so the situation is very specific. The virus keeps spreading in other parts of the world, including in the Philippines, with a count about more than 9,000, and also Indonesia, with the total number of infections now being more than 11,000. So as you all know, the situation evolves quickly. And my message here before we start is that in all cases, we should keep observing preventive measures. And also keep in mind that the impact of COVID-19 related to stress and anxiety can remain on the long term, like even after the epidemic slow down, especially maybe for those who live far from their family. So I was thinking about maybe starting with you, Eliza.
Yeah, sure.
So we can discuss how to best promote health before we zoom on the topic of mental health with you, Guleed. I know that the latter being a particular concern that the community has. Of course, I do encourage all of you who are with us tonight, watching this live, to ask questions, share your comments, and we'll do our best to reply to you. All right, so Eliza, my first question to you is asking you if you could remind us why those preventive measures that we are now respecting for most of all, they seem to be fairly respected, at least in that part of the world. But could you please remind us why they are so important and how they allow limiting the spread of the virus?
Okay. Thanks, Camille, for the question. So, a lot of people have been asking this question: why preventive measures are so important, and how these preventive measures that allow limiting the spread of the virus. So, first of all, with these preventive measures, it can reduce the chances of being infected or spreading this virus, okay, or other diseases, okay, by taking just all these simple preventive measures.
Okay.
Okay, so I always emphasize to the participants in our workshop or even to our beneficiaries that simple preventive measures really matter. So it just consists of hand hygiene and respiratory hygiene. In other words, it's the cough and sneeze etiquette. Okay, because everybody know that we should wash our hands, but we need to ensure that we wash our hands correctly and timely with soap and water. Okay, but if when hand washing is not available, so alcohol-based hand rub is an option. So make sure that you rub your hand for at least 20 seconds and ensure washing all parts of our hands. Okay, not just the palm, not just the back of our hand, but all parts of our hand. Okay, because if you just rub palm to palm for 20 seconds, it doesn't mean that you clean your hand correctly. Okay, and also it's very important that we should always remind the people around us, avoid touching our face with unwashed hands. Okay, because there is an interesting study shows that people touch their face more than 16 times in an hour.
That's a lot. Yeah.
In an hour. So, and the one thing when we're talking about cough and sneeze etiquette is just that cover your nose and mouth with tissue paper or bend elbow when sneezing or coughing, because with this just simple gesture, it helps to prevent the spread of droplets. As we know that the main transmission mode of this virus is through droplets when we sneeze, when we cough, or even when we speak. So the second preventive measures is social distancing. Recently, people keep talking about social distancing. The government has been reminding us on social distancing. So just hold a distance of 1 meter at least 1 meter. If possible, that you can keep a distance of more than 1 meter from each other. Because when we are too close to someone, and especially when that person coughs or sneezes, that we might breathe in droplets. Okay, because nowadays with so many cases of asymptomatic COVID cases, so we don't know who are we with, and whether the person is healthy enough. Because other than COVID virus, it can be just a common flu or some other infectious disease that also can spread through droplets. When we are too close together, we might just breathe in the droplets directly. Okay, so the third preventive measures is avoid crowded places. Okay, because when the place is like crowded, it's very hard to maintain social distancing. It's very hard to maintain like a 1 meter distance from each other when there's too many people. Okay, and also you are likely to come in close contact with someone that might has COVID-19 or other infectious disease that they might not show symptoms yet. And of course, like if you need to go to a crowded places, like you need to go, you have to do something there, you need to go there, you might want to wear a mask to protect yourself and also protect others if you are not feeling too well. Okay, so the last preventive measures that I want to emphasize is stay home if you are sick. Okay, if you have to wear a mask, you need to use it correctly, use the mask correctly. Okay, be responsible to yourself and the people around you. Okay, seek medical help if you have flu symptoms and you have contact with suspected or confirmed cases or travel history. Okay, these are the points that you have to remember. You need to seek medical help. There's no way to self-diagnose that. Am I having just a common flu or am I catching the virus? There's no way to self-diagnose. You need to go and see a doctor. And also, when you are seeing a doctor or when you're not feeling well, be honest. Okay, do not feel ashamed or shy to declare your health conditions. Okay, because you know yourself best. Okay, when you're not feeling well, because outsider or your close friend, they might cannot differentiate that you are feeling good or you're feeling healthy or you are actually not feeling well today, because of course we know ourselves better. So, and also because nowadays during this pandemic, people tends to feel shy or ashamed to declare that I am actually not feeling well and or I have some like flu symptoms, because they are scared to being stigmatized. Okay, so like I say, be honest. Okay, and talking about mask, if we wear a mask, we need to wear it correctly and dispose it correctly. Okay, because often people know there is a lot of education that how to wear a mask correctly, but also people that tends to forget when they take out their mask, they forget to do it, to dispose it properly. Okay, because apply and dispose mask correctly, because this can help to prevent or slow down the spread of the virus. Okay, and also remember that mask is just an extra preventive measure. Hand hygiene is still the very important, it's still the key. Okay, there's this one that I want to emphasize to everybody, included myself, that all these preventive measures, that this is not a multiple choice question with a lot of answers that we can choose. Okay, we cannot choose like which one is the best preventive measures that I want to follow, because all these preventive measures have to be taken together to ensure for full effectiveness. And also one, like just now you have mentioned, please respect the local authority guidelines or some new laws that's been implemented. So always check on the latest guidelines that are released by the local authorities.
Okay, thank you, Eliza. It was very good reminders. I think we've heard about those measures like more than once, but it's still good to have them kind of listed. Really, what I've heard a lot from what you say, like what I would share again is really do not hesitate to ask for advice and to call a medical provider if you have any doubt. I hear that there might be stigmas playing a role. So it's very important not to feel any shame and just asking for professional help on that. And also the other very important point that you mentioned is that it works when they're all done together. So it's not like if we would, picking one because we don't feel so much comfortable with wearing masks, and we feel that's okay enough to wash hands. So they all work together. So thanks for that reminder as well, which is a very important one. Before we go to the next question, I'll just want to say hello to the community because we have a lot of people here. So for now, they're just saying hello. Odie's there. Good evening. I'm just going to screen them so we see that we're being watched. Hi, Joe. Good evening. Thank you for being here with us. A special thanks for us speakers. That's nice. Good evening, everyone. I do have these questions that I just want to clarify very quickly. So we're not mentors. I myself work at Uplifters as head of programs, and Eliza and Guleed both work at Doctors Without Border, which is an international humanitarian medical organization. So Guleed is a psychologist and Eliza is a nurse. Yeah, and this is my colleague clarifying things for me. So we're all good with that. Now, the question that I want to ask you, Eliza, is how these preventive measures adapt into daily life, and what are the specificities that you feel might apply to domestic workers? Because their work precisely consists in taking care of others, which means being close to others. And we just talk about social distancing, for instance, and washing hands, but their work is also about cleaning homes, and hygiene is something that is important to keep in mind.
Okay, so like just now, the preventive measures that I've mentioned, like we can try to think back that all these preventive measures that I've mentioned, it's none of this are newly invented because of this coronavirus outbreak. It's just something that we might have learned from school or from our mother or at the home. It's just some common practices. Okay, because we might have forgotten all these preventive measures or think that they are not very important, and we don't take them seriously until something happened. It always it always like that. We might know this like back in school, but we are not practicing it because it's not important until something happened that, oh, we'll suddenly think of this. Yeah, I have learned this from school. So because of this outbreak, so we can take this opportunity to remind ourselves, to remind the people around us to start practicing all these basic preventive measures that might have been neglected for some times. Okay. So just to remember this message I want to bring to everybody is like to protect your loved one, you must start protecting yourself first. Okay. So like all these preventive measures we've been doing, like we wash our hands every day before eating or after toilet. There must be some times that we will wash our hands. But for now, during this outbreak, you just have to increase your hand washing frequency and do it correctly. Yeah. We know that, yeah, I wash my hand, but yeah, how long? Like for 3 seconds? Or as long as the water runs through my hand, is it considered clean? So this is the time for you to really think about it. Am I washing my hands correctly? Are they really clean? Okay. So sometimes, like if you keep forgetting to wash your hands before touching your face, for example, so you need to find a way to remind yourself. Okay. For example, like a sticky note or a handmade poster, okay, on your toilet door or your living room, or that on a place that is easy for you to see when you come back from outside. So you just need to find a way that to remind yourself, your family, or people around you to like wash your hand, dispose your mask correctly. So it's just like a reminder for you and for the people around you. Okay. And also been saying that previously, be responsible, okay? Start practicing the correct respiratory hygiene, the cough and sneeze ethic, okay? And also help the younger children, the younger ones, okay, in adhering to all these practices, okay? Like we as an adult, we can set as a role model to tell the younger ones to, you have to practice these preventive measures correctly, okay, by showing them the ways or by leading them to do it correctly. And also we can do like when we meeting our friends or family or colleagues that we can remind each other to practice all these preventive measures, but also please do it in a good way and friendly way, because to avoid conflict with, because we don't want to act like a teacher to telling you what to do, and we don't want to make people feel bad or not doing it correctly. So do it a good way and friendly way, okay? Because it takes time for people to understand, to accept. They might understand that they need to do all these preventive measures, but it also takes time for them to accept, yes, I need to do it and do it correctly. And the final part is make it as part of their daily routine. Yeah, because I believe that everybody understands the needs of washing hands, the need of maintain social distance, but do people accept it and make it as part of their daily routine? So we just need to do our part in ensuring a better and healthier community, because all these preventive measures seem small, but they actually play a very crucial role in preventing the spread of viruses, to protect us, to protect everybody. Okay, like I mentioned before, to protect your loved one, you must protect yourself first.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much the key message, right? You need to protect you first, and then protecting yourself will help you protect people around you. And I think something that was difficult at first was to be aware of these measures, but maybe not realizing the impact it has in terms of how many times a day you need to do that. And as you
Yeah.
said, it's about reminding yourself and reminding those who can't really be big enough or like any other situations to do that by themselves. So thank you for that reminder as well. I do have a question from one of our team leader, Audie. Her job consists in taking care of a dog, and she feels that the information related to whether or not animals can catch the virus and spread it were not clear. So she's asking clarifications about that.
Okay, because there are some cases like in Hong Kong or in Europe country that domestic pets, dogs, cats, they've been tested positive with coronavirus. But currently there is no scientific proof that animals, domestic pets, can spread the virus to humans. Okay, so that is also a reminder to remind us that it is very important to wash our hands, to keep the hand hygiene after we are in contact with animals, especially after we are cleaning up, after we're bringing up for a walk or cleaning up the poops and their pee. So still the key message is hand hygiene. Don't touch your face. Yeah, don't touch your face before you wash your hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for those clarifications. Just want to say again that, those who are watching us, feel free to ask any questions you have. Like, there is no stupid questions. All questions are much welcome. So this is a chance. We have our two guests. So yeah, don't feel shy. And even if it's just a comment, even if it's just like sharing experience, feel free to share. So Eliza, thanks a lot. I feel that we can now maybe go to you, Guleed.
Yeah.
And start having this discussion, which is more precisely about mental health. So, working for Uplifters, we felt quite early in the epidemic, even before it started to be a pandemic, that the community we work with reported facing difficulties relating to their well-being, often related to the stress or worries that they may feel when it comes to COVID-19, and how that could impact their lives. And it does impact their lives in many ways. So it is true that the situation sometimes feels overwhelming. I think my first question to you is, are these feelings normal and can they be managed?
Yeah. Good question, and thank you again for having us here this evening. Um, are the feelings normal and can they be managed? I would say yes to both of them, actually. These feelings are normal because the situation that we're facing is not a normal situation.
Mm,
We have never been in a situation like this before. This is a new virus. So, yes, it's definitely normal to feel overwhelmed or stressed or anxious or all of the above. um, Everybody is different and everybody's reactions are also different. So a lot of thoughts are flying through our minds in these times. We can I get infected? Can I infect others? What about my job? Will anything happen to my job? I'll be missing out events. I planned a lot of things that I was supposed to do, and now suddenly there's all of these restrictions that are put on us in terms of gatherings and traveling and
mm,
meeting. And a lot of us, some of us might even be living abroad, so we might be restricted in going home or having family members come to us. So all of the emotions that we're going through, it's very normal to go through them in this time. I think also if we think about it, we've been in this for quite some time now. We're almost going on 6 months
yeah.
since we've been facing the coronavirus and now the COVID-19, as it's called, and that's a long period to be exposed to uncertainty. I say uncertainty because we don't know how long this will go on. We don't have a playbook. We don't have experience with it as per se. That in itself can be very stressful for even the best of us.
Mm,
But what I will say, though, in terms of can it be managed, I would say yes, it is possible to manage it. We all have to remember this is not the first time that we have been faced with a challenge. This is not the first time that we've been faced with something where we had to overcome some adversity. So I just want to remind everybody, and that's also something that we put as a reminder in our workshops for stressing the anxiety management, that we do have the capacity to overcome challenges. And I
we do
wholeheartedly
have
believe
it. Yeah.
we do have it. And I
Mm.
wholeheartedly believe that we will be able to overcome this challenge as well.
Mm. Thank you, Guleed. I think it's a very good transition to my next question, which is, sometime because it is too overwhelming, or because when you are under stress, then you don't know what to do. You actually don't know what to start with to make the situation feels a bit better. So when we feel down, it sometimes seems just impossible to start feeling better again, and
Yeah.
the efforts feel too difficult. So I think my next question is, what are, I mean, out there, and if so, what are those easy things that we can start doing to feel better?
Mhm. It's a good thing that you said easy, Camille, because exactly it can seem very overwhelming to even do minute things that you were able to do before. You might be a very resilient person in general, and then suddenly it's hard to get out of bed, or it's hard to make a decision, or it's hard to stand your ground
Mm,
in a given situation, whatever it might be. I think the first thing that I would say is be kind to yourself. Start by some self-compassion.
mm,
It's very stressful as it is. And we might not have the same amount of energy that we used to, and then do small adjustments. Small things that you change them up might have a huge impact on you and on your well-being in general. And there's the basic things like sleep. Make sure
yeah.
that you have sufficient enough rest.
Mm,
If we don't have enough rest, we have there's the chance of becoming more hypersensitive to everything that we're
mm,
presented with, and we're presented with a lot these days. So
mm,
good sleep, good nutrition, a little bit of exercise as well, and having a sense of routine. Keep a sense of routine even though there might be a lot of restrictions that have been put on us, but try to see if you can keep some routines going, some healthy routines. And yeah, I think those are some of the things that you can do. And I think also there's so much information going around in the news outlets and in social media. There's so many experts, and everybody has an opinion about COVID-19. But
Yeah.
again, we have to remember we don't really know what it is or how long that it will last. So to limit all of that information, try to stick with one news outlet, a trusted news
Mhm.
outlet. Don't check the news the first thing you wake up and throughout the day, and it's the last thing you see before you go to bed. Keep yourself updated, have the conversation going, and stay connected with your communities as well. Sometimes we feel that what we're going through is something that we're only going through ourselves, but this is a global pandemic, which means that not only in our inner circle, but globally, we are experiencing some of the same feelings and some of the same challenges as well.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I think it's I mean, this is what we're trying to do with Uplifters. This is what we've been trying to do. Like,
Yeah.
you all know that we're a community first and foremost. So definitely, we've been trying to share all the information we could. But I do agree with you. There are a lot of information out there, and sometimes it's very difficult to navigate those information. It can feel very stressful. So maybe one thing that I personally do is that I pick my maybe 2 to 3 reliable media and I stick
Yeah.
to them. Then only
Yeah.
when I have, a question that I can't find an answer on, then I will start asking around. But
Yeah.
yeah, community support is key for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's also, how do we navigate something that we haven't experienced before? I mean, it is a challenge and it's definitely difficult, but it's not the first time that we're faced with difficulties like this. So I
Yeah.
think one of the first things, or one of the main things that we can do is also put a perspective on it and just remember this will not last forever,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And when we're
Yeah.
talking about self-compassion, also set some realistic expectations on yourself. Nothing is going to be perfect. There might be a lot of plans and a lot of things that have fallen through, but it's beyond our control.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely. This is something very important to keep in mind.
yeah,
Maybe just before we go a bit deeper in, that important distinction that we need to try to do in between what we can control and what we cannot control, I'd just like to screen a few questions that came up. They might be addressed to you, Eliza. So one is about washing clothes. So definitely working as a domestic worker, it's a lot about washing clothes, touching clothes that are not yours. And Siafira is concerned and wondering, is it something risky?
Sorry. So can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So from this question, I would like to remind everyone that the main mode of transmissions of this coronavirus, this COVID-19, is through droplets
Yeah.
that expel when we sneeze, cough, or when we speak. So there is a possibility that when we go out, this droplets might, land on our shirts. That there is studies that prove that coronavirus they might can stay for hours or days on different surfaces. So to reduce or to minimize the risk of being infected, but because of touching all these clothes from outside, or even yourself when you're coming back from outside. So what you need to do to your clothes, to your outfits. Okay, so actually, there's nothing that we don't have to do it like extra precaution. I would just
Mhm.
recommend that you can just follow your normal routine. Okay, you can just wash your clothes as the normal routine. So it's still back to the first preventive measures, your hand hygiene. Okay, after you have handled all this dirty laundry, after you have put them into the washing machine, so what you need to do next is to wash your hand before you do something else or before you are touching your face.
Yeah.
So is it a matter of how you can stop to introduce all this virus, this potential risk of getting infected from different surfaces to you? It's through washing your hand, you can minimize the chance of you yourself being infected because of you might, because we can't see with our eyes that whether is there any droplets with viruses. We cannot see that. So to make sure that we are safe enough, just wash your hand before you touch your face. Don't touch your face if your hand is not clean or not washed.
Yeah. Okay. So what I hear is that there is no extra precaution to be taken in that specific situation. But again, back to the dog situation, it's all about protecting yourself and then, washing your hands once you're done with that specific task, be it walking your dog or washing dirty clothes.
Yes.
Another question that we have is about cigarette smoke. So when we talk about droplets, Kenny is wondering, can COVID-19 be passed through cigarette smoke?
Okay. This question is very interesting. Like, can COVID pass through cigarette smoke? Because cigarette smoke is not droplets. Okay, so and also like as Guleed mentioned before that this virus is very new. We have no experience with it. There is still a lot of studies ongoing. So I don't have a definite answer for this one. Okay, but as we know, it's a common health recommendation. So try to stay away if you're not. If try to stay away when somebody's smoking around you. It's for your own health. But for coronavirus, for now, there is no studies on this yet. Probably not, maybe not far from the future, we might have some answer for this one.
Yeah. Okay. So it goes a little bit back to what we were saying at the very beginning. Like this is new. There is more and more research, more and more facts, but typically this one is something that we need to pay attention to. So thank you very much, Kenny, for having asked that very important question. The next comment that I want to screen is about stress. So Isa is saying that it's not only the fear of being infected or the fear of having our loved one being infected, but as domestic workers, they are the breadwinner of their families. And the fear of not being able to provide to their family because of the pandemic is something that become restless and provide and causes a lot of anxiety because of their very specific status and role in their family. I'm going to screen the question. I'm sorry that it's big on the screen, but so good it can have a little look. And just going back to the community aspect, thank you, Isa, for reminding that Uplifters is not only a community, it's also an organization providing a money management course and trying to support the good financial management habits. But yeah, it can feel very stressful to be in this situation, as I said, to be far from your family, but still being the one everyone will be relying on.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's definitely it's a very real and I mean, it's a good question and it's a stress factor that people are faced with in these days, especially their livelihood. I mean, there's nothing worse than having a sense of uncertainty when it's linked to your livelihood and your income, especially if you're in a supporting role of your family. So it's really nice to know that there are places like Uplifters that helps with both capacity building and building resilience in terms of aspects like, funding and your money situation and what are some plans to put in place, because again, we don't know how long this will last.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's really related to, somehow accepting that there are things that we can control and things that we
Hmm.
cannot control. I mean, everyone is somehow facing financial pressure. We can very easily imagine what kind of financial pressure might be coming on domestic workers who have some members of their family being locked down, for instance,
Yeah,
and not being able to work.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, definitely money management is key. Being also able to explain what their situation is, because sometimes this is not obvious
no,
for their families back home. So I think there is really something key here about communicating
absolutely.
the stress and acknowledging the stress that your family can feel, but also communicating that yourself is in a stressful situation.
Yeah, and also and also communicate it out and be very attentive to one's own feeling. If you don't necessarily communicate it out, in this case, maybe your family members, they won't have the chance to realize what your struggles might be, and they can't be there for you and support you in a way that, because you might be fearful that they won't be able to support you, and you're the one who's the breadwinner in this situation.
Mm,
But it's very important to acknowledge your own feeling and your own stance of what you're experiencing in these times here, and allow yourself to voice them to, if not your family, then to someone that you trust, so you do have a sense of outlet in these times.
yeah. Yeah, and maybe we have still a bit of time. I was thinking maybe, Gulid, you could share with us some of the main coping strategies that you've been, sharing during your workshops, or that participants to this workshop may have shared with you. Again, there are things we can control, there are things we cannot control, but it's very
Mm.
important to know yourself well and to
Yeah,
manage your emotion. So,
yeah.
are there specific strategies that you would advise us to follow?
Yeah, there are different ones, and we utilized and explained them a bit in our workshops that we had. Breathing is key. It's definitely one that we always go back to. It's
Mm,
something that you can do anywhere, anytime. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't require a lot of knowledge. It just requires yourself, and taking some deep breaths. We also went through mindfulness, which is
yeah,
something that you can try out. Everybody usually has access to either social media or YouTube, so there's a lot of guided meditations. There's some guided mindfulness exercises that one can do. We also encourage, or I also encourage, socializing. We hear social distancing. It's a new term that we've been so familiar with now. It's not necessarily social distancing; it's physical distancing. That's
yeah,
what we have to remember.
that's great. Yeah,
We don't have to distance ourselves socially, because that can be even more anxiety-inducing. The fact that we can't
mm,
connect with our community, our family members, our friends, our loved ones, we still can do that in a different way. Um, Zoom has been a big hit now, so try to meet up with people virtually, or in smaller groups, whatever is possible where you are, and remind yourself of some winning strategies that you have used before that worked for you before. Also, again, as I said to begin with, this is not the first time that we've been faced with adversity that we have been able to overcome. We can overcome this as well. So we do have the skills.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, again, very important to make that distinction. I mean, Uplifters is all about being online, so the community will provide this online, but I mean, there is not only Uplifters, all
Mm.
this social media, um, staying connected, be it just a text to someone you trust. So, yeah, this is very important not to confuse what physical distancing is and what social
Mm.
distancing is. Like, you do need social network
Yeah.
to be actually walking to feel good.
Absolutely. And also remember the conversations when you do connect with your communities or friends and family. It's normal to talk about the COVID-19, what we're going through.
Yeah,
It's such a big part of our lives now. It's been such a big part. It's become such a big part of our realities. But put it on the back burner a little bit. Reconnect on things that are not related to this, because our lives are still going on. You know,
Yeah.
Reconnect with the things that brings you joy or joyous memories, or plan for things that you're looking forward to when it's going to be happen to have those things done. There might be weddings or birthdays or whatever it might be, but remember the joyful things as well. Spirituality, if that's something that can feed your soul, look into that also via your communities as well. Stay informed, um, but stay informed with trustworthy outlets, as we said before, which is also very important. And then if those things, and this was just a couple of the examples that we've been going through and the things you can do for coping, if they don't really work, seek help. There is help to be given. Camille, you showed the hotlines for some of the crisis hotlines that people they can call into. Utilize them. Utilize your communities. Keep the conversation going. What you're feeling and what you're going through is not just you. You're not alone in this. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Guleed. I think it's worth reminding it again and again. So I just print again like Hong Kong hotline, Singapore hotline. I also want to say that you have this beautiful organization in Hong Kong called Mind Hong Kong, and they have a web page called Find Help Now, where you will not only find context but a lot of resources. So do not hesitate to go and have a check. Um, I know that in Singapore, Home is also an organization supporting domestic workers in many different aspects. So they do have a hotline as well. So this is really something that you should do if you feel the need to seeking help. We have one comment from Jenely. She's asking, how should we manage feeling of hopelessness due to overwhelming anxiety and uncertainty? So I think you
Yeah.
touched upon that a little bit, Guleed, but you might want to develop a little bit more about this uncertainty and the fact that the duration is quite long also.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a good question, and it's a question I think a lot of us have also asked ourselves, when will this end? Hopelessness is usually a negative view on the future, because you can't really see meaning in any of it. And I think as I mentioned in the beginning, put a perspective on it and know that this is not going to last forever. Yeah.
Mm.
I think with this, some of the restrictions that we have been faced with have been isolating, self-isolating, and having to, we can't really go out. And that really can enforce the feeling of hopelessness, the feeling of being alone, the feeling of, I don't know if I'm going to be able to overcome this because I can't really connect with my communities or with my loved ones. So stay connected, and know in the back of your mind that this is not something that it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
will
for
say.
sure. It helps.
Yeah.
It helps.
I even have to tell myself that from time to time. Again, we're all going
Yeah,
through this, and
same here.
yeah, there's no playbook at this point. We haven't been through this before, so all we can do is just lean on each other and remember that we do have the capacity to overcome adversity because we've done it before, all in different stages and in different times.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm going to take one last question from Yadak, who is asking, if I understand it well, if those people who drink alcohol would find themselves, would it be more difficult for those who drink alcohol to catch the virus? This is how I understand the question. Is like, does drinking alcohol can somehow protect you?
Okay. Because here I would like to emphasize that everybody have an equal chance to be infected with the virus. Okay, so that by drinking alcohol, consuming alcohol, will not destroy the virus. Okay,
Mm.
because because if we drink too much of alcohol, it also will increase the health risk. Okay, it will just burden your body and just give you another health problem. Okay, so then people will ask, then why are alcohol-based hand rub can
Mm.
kill virus, but why not
Mm.
drinking alcohol can kill the virus?
Yeah.
Because it's different. It works differently. Okay, because alcohol hand rub with like a concentrations of at least 60%, it works as a disinfectant on our skin. But
Yes.
there has no such effect if we drink the alcohol, because alcohol doesn't work that way to our body system when ingested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So this is very clear. It doesn't work the same way when this is applied on skin and when this is uh, being drunk.
Yes, it's true.
Thank you, Eliza. Thank you. This is a very important one. Thank you very much for having asked the question. This is a good question. Thank you for asking. I think we're coming to an end slowly. So I want to thank you again, Eliza and Guleed. It was very informative. I found it very reassuring as well. So thanks a lot for your kind words and encouragement. And again, we'll go through that together. These two shall pass for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
So
thank you so much for having us and the great questions. It was also
yeah,
nice to
you're
see
very
some
welcome.
familiar names on the comment track. So yeah, happy to
Okay.
be here.
Maybe just before we end it for good, what about we go through our evening ritual to lift that up a bit? So, Gulid, do you want to start? Would you like to
Yes,
share with us three things that made you happy today?
absolutely, absolutely. I think the first thing is that I'm still quite energized from the long weekend and the amazing weather. A little too humid, but amazing weather that has been in Hong Kong. I'm also very happy because I just found out on my Spotify list that an artist that I really like just released an album. So I'm looking
Of
forward to listen to that. Her name is Fiona Apple. She's very good. And last but not least, I'm very happy that my gym will open on Friday
yeah,
because, yeah, I have to practice what I preach, and moving a little bit has been a bit hard. There's no excuses, and now there's definitely no excuses. So that makes me happy.
yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Thanks for sharing. What about
Thank
you,
you.
Eliza? What made you happy today or in the past days?
For me, is we just had a very good dinner, some Thai food, good dinner with a very generous amount of Thai food. And also some things that make me happy every day is maybe I got a chance to chat with my twin sister, and also for today, especially that I had a quite fruitful brainstorming session with my colleagues on
Oh,
our upcoming project. So yeah, basically this things makes me happy, make my day today. Yeah,
yeah, I like it. A little bit of everything. Different fields in your life, right?
yeah, sure. What
And
about
for me,
yeah?
sorry,
Yeah.
say
I know. What
And
about you?
you? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
so something that I'm trying to do as much as I can because I'm lucky enough to live nearby a beach is to wake up very early in the morning before my kids and go for a swim or a walk. And
Wow.
I managed to do that this morning. So I kind of extended the weekend energy that I had as well. So that was nice. I had a good rest in the afternoon with my two young daughters. I love sleeping, so this is really something that I take your advice about having a good rest. It definitely helps. And I think the last one is really honestly to be here with you to be able to learn more. There are things that I wasn't sure myself, so I'm very grateful that you clarified those points, and also giving a chance to the community to have these basic reminders about counting on others is really something that is important. Protecting yourself so you can protect others more. So it's a little bit the same with self-care. Take care of yourself first, and then it will be easier to support, be it your family or the children that you're looking after or anyone. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again a lot.
Thank you for having us.
And for those who did not have time to ask questions, do feel free to keep commenting. We'll definitely have a look at the comments in the coming days, and I'm sure Eliza and Guleed will help us reply to that as much as we can, as best as we can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Great.
Have a good night, everyone. Thanks again for joining us tonight.
You too. Have a good evening. Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.